Hey, it's Umi, and you're watching EARMILK Chats.
Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Alan Baez. I am here with the one and the only Umi, and we got an album on the way, and we got some questions lined up for you today. So, my friend, the first thing I really got to ask is, and I always ask this, but I really got to ask you because I know you'll be honest about it. How are you doing today?
Oh, it's a good question. I'm doing good today, actually. Yesterday, I was not doing that good. Today, I'm doing really good. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things happening, and I feel like every time you drop a project, you forget how chaotic the last project was. So you're like, not chaotic, but just it gets really busy. But I'm actually doing really good today. I feel very grounded today, and I feel very happy to be here.
I'm super happy that you're here with joining us. I want to ask also, just you said you're feeling really grounded, which is awesome. There is just so much garbage happening in the world right now, especially with just so many different places surrounding us. And you being from LA, understand there's a lot of upheaval happening in LA right now. So I want to just check in, see how that's, if any of that's affecting you.
It is, but I think in like a healthy way, like as a human being, I don't think you can help but to be affected by the things you see, and whether it's the protests or whether it's just like feeling something in the air, like a an angst or a sadness in the air. So I do think it does affect me, but also something that I've been reminding myself is at this moment in my life, my greatest contribution is my music. And so I've been focusing on my album because I feel that's the greatest way I can support my community. And it's like a really it's a difficult place to get to because as like a very passionate person, like I always want to jump in and help and like do something. But I think I was realizing I wasn't being as effective as like my passion and my real purpose here is to do that. I feel like is my greatest contribution. So as of now, that's what I've been focusing on and hoping to use that to support all and counter all the gunk that's happening in the world.
I like that. I like that. I know you're a very like open individual. You're a very introspective individual. So I'm gonna ask him some pretty heavy questions later on. So, but you're already prepared for that. But I really just want to
Yeah.
jump straight to it. Honestly, just going into the album itself, I while the last few albums focused on introspection, there's a deeper exploration of similar heavy themes on this one, but you execute them just a little differently, just in the stylings of your sound and the production of the songs themselves. So I got to ask you, what was the intention going into this album compared to Forest in the City?
Mm. So this album is called People Stories because all the songs in the album are based on stories that my fans and my loved ones have told me. And so none of the stories really are about me. I'm more of being the storyteller and the channel for other people's stories. And it began when I was in Amsterdam and I was on tour, and this fan came up to me afterwards and was like, Umi, come, come, come. This is me and my boyfriend, and we met because we loved your music and we connected over that. And on our first day, we went to this Thai food restaurant. It's so good. We really want to take you there. So he took me to the Thai food restaurant, and like one of my favorite foods at the Thai food restaurant is mango sticky rice, and they had the best mango sticky rice. So I'm like eating mango sticky rice, learning about the story, and that's when it all clicked. I was like, oh, I'm gonna write an album about my fans and other people's stories, and mango sticky rice was the first song I made inspired by that. It's on the album, and so this album was like very there was a beginning point and there's an ending point versus like my past projects like Force in the City was more like I was just making and then I was like if I need to put a stamp on this to move on. So it was less like I don't think I went in with like this is what I'm making. It was more like this is who Umi's been for the past 2 years, boom, versus this is like I know who Umi is, this is what Umi wants to make, this is the album. So it was this one was a lot more focused and specific from the beginning.
Okay, that's so interesting. It all makes sense now because there's so like understanding that's people stories and seeing how things are with like the music videos and how like you talk like the things you talk about. Like it's so interesting hearing like some of the themes that I at least caught on with some of the lyrics present. But I don't know, like that kind of ties it all together for me, especially since there's a song called Mango Sticky Rice. But also, I'm kind of in that like flabbergasted because you said you got the best mango sticky rice in Norway,
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam. Sorry, I'm sorry, Amsterdam. Still, that's not even much better. Like Amsterdam, really? Out of
No,
everywhere?
for real. It was so good. And I've eaten all around the world. It's still my top three. It was probably, I don't think it's still number one Thai food restaurant.
Okay, I'm gonna have to ask you for the name after this because that's so
Yeah, hit me
cool
up
to me.
after. I gotta look for it too. I think it's on my list of like, I make a list when I tour of like my favorite restaurants I went to.
Okay, this is gonna be about my fans. This is gonna be about how other people interpret your music.
Not even interpret me. Like, so after that fan experience, every time I would go to the studio, I would send a message in my Discord, and I would say, send me a story about the last time you cried, or send me a story of your happiest memory, or your psychedelic trip, or and then my fans would send me all these stories, and I would read them, and I would pick the one or combine them all, um, and then go to the studio and write a song based on that. So I let the story lead the session, which is why this album, like the sonics, are so like diverse. It's almost like a patchwork of all these sounds because I use the story to pick the sound versus like this is the sound of the album, you know. So
Mhm.
it really gets to showcase my diverse range of sonic worlds that UMI can do.
For sure. That's so interesting. Okay, I'm really curious then. How was the songwriting process then? So if your fans in your Discord gave you a story, how did you sonically piece that together for an entire song? Like how did that process come to be?
So I'm a very like visual person. Like every sound has a color to me. Every story, like everything has a color to me. A taste has a color to me. Everything. So someone, for example, there's a song like Grocery Store where I had asked people to send me stories of their psychedelic trip, and someone told me about how they had done shrooms at the park and like they felt like their little self again, and like the trees were getting wavy and it made them want to climb a tree, and I'm like, oh, this is so visual and perfect. So I was like, I'm gonna pull in those words. They helped me set the scene of like how they felt, what they did. um, and then I had for that song I added my own creativity, and I was like, okay, what if this fan actually worked at a grocery store and they did shrooms on their lunch break, and then that was a story. So for this whole album was like storytelling type writing, where everything I built a whole world based on the stories, and then I just did my best to explain it and find the melodies that like expressed that feeling.
That makes so much more sense because when I listened the first time listening to Grocery Store, it just sounded so, like, out of pocket to me. Like, "Oh, that's such an
Yes.
interesting, like, means to go about it," but then literally, like, the idea of, like, when you say "grocery store," like, the way you stretch out those melodies, like, it does kinda remind me of, like, "Oh, this was, like, slow tempo as if someone is, like, experiencing a high like that." That's really cool.
Yeah, like I feel like I even played with like how can I bend time with sound and like make it feel trippy but also childlike and playful. So that's how I let the story lead the music.
I like that. I like that a lot. So I'm curious then. So at the beginning of the album, you started out on a very somber note, and there's this bit of dialogue, and I'm not sure who it's from, but there's a line where you say, "Why is it okay for me to be happy when the world isn't happy?" And it's almost like it reminds me of like a therapy session. So I'm curious on like how that connects to this plot.
I love that you asked that. The whole album is narrated by my therapist and like the therapy sessions I did while I was making the album. So it's a opportunity for people to like understand my headspace and relate and learn from it. My therapist, I also call her my guide. Like she is so wise. So I also was like, the fans should hear these words because she is so wise. This needs to live on beyond me.
So where did that sentiment also come from? Just like being for because I know it's something you sprinkle in there, and I know she's the narrator. But where did that initial idea come from? Of like, oh, I should like implement my therapist into this.
remember I finished making all the songs and I was just like, how do I want to make an interlude? And on one level, I was like, I could like put in voice messages and of like people telling their stories and stuff. But then I don't know, it was like I wanted to do something different. I just wanted to do something that wasn't that was I was like, what's the most intimate thing I could share with somebody? And I was like, it's my therapy session. Like, how deep can I let my fans and my listeners like into my life? And so I think there was an obvious choice I could have done, and like just me, I'm like, if there's an obvious way, I'm gonna do it the other way. I always just want to do it the other way. So I did it the other way, and how that was really the process. And then I just felt like the other thing too is, as specific as these stories are, every time I'd finish writing it, I was like, wow, I felt like that was my story too. Like there's something I can pick up from every person's story, and that's also the goal of people's stories, is people to talk more, share more about themselves, so that we feel less crazy and less alone. And like, I'm the only one who's depressed, I'm the only one who's anxious, I'm the only one who's unsure what I'm doing with my life. No, actually everybody kind of feels that way, probably at the same time, and we're just not talking about it. And so I added also those therapy sessions to be like, Umi also feels this way. Umi is also confused about these things. Like, I can relate to you, and I hope through me expressing and being transparent about that, you can open yourself up to talking about your therapy session to someone, or just like your inner thoughts with somebody.
Interesting. So it was more of just a means of adding an extra layer of like interconnectivity to it, and like
Yes.
opening up people to your experience. Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. And really, that makes me think about this next question I really wanted to ask you, just because when I was looking through your Spotify, the link that one of the links that you have on there is to your Instagram. I discovered that it wasn't like the official like
Oh.
business Instagram, and it was like an Instagram diary. And I was like, oh, this is the first thing I see, because I when I follow that Instagram link, I got I'm gonna call it a Finsta. I know it's not probably not the Finsta, but for the lack of a better phrase, I'm gonna call it the Finsta for right now. So it's like I got the Finsta, and then later on when I went to go look it up, I found the actual Instagram, like you being like, oh, thank you, this show. I went to this show. Oh, thank you. Next album coming out, versus like the Finsta where you're like, I just hate capitalism. Like and it was just so interesting because you just lay it all out. You lay it all out for the conversation. So I really got to ask you, how do you handle being perceived?
Mm. How do I handle being perceived? I think it's been a journey. Like, I think I used to be really scared of being famous, and I used to be really scared of being perceived. Um, I think because of all the things you're like taught about what comes with being famous, and I think I almost like held that away from me, which is why like my earlier stuff, you don't see my face in the cover art at all. Like, I archived a lot of my older posts, but they were a lot more cryptic and like not really front facing. But with the past two albums, I think I've just realized like me being perceived is bigger than me. Like, my desire for my music and my career to grow is beyond me. Like, it's more about the message that I have to share, the music and the frequency that comes through me, and knowing that like I really do think the world needs this right now. And it's not even me, it's like just this thing that I share. So to me, it's like when people perceive me, they could be perceiving me, but really they're perceiving like the energy that I bring, and the energy I transmute through me. And I think that's what artists are. We're like just these different portals of energy, and we like bring energy from somewhere beyond Earth to Earth to help Earth expand and evolve and become something different. So now I'm like, perceive me. I'm like, perceive all of me. Like, I want to be perceived more, and I don't mind being misunderstood either. Like, I've let go of the things I can't control. So right now, in my point of my life, I just want to be perceived more. Honestly, that's my goal.
Has there ever been a negative experience that you've had with being perceived?
Yeah, I think like some of the times I get um my recent like collaborations that I've been doing with other artists, like especially the stuff I've been doing with like our artists in Korea, for example. I think when I collaborate with artists with really big fandoms, I feel like I get assumed different things. Like, I feel like I've gotten wrapped up in a bunch of like rumors or controversies within like these subcultures. Um, because of that, so I would say maybe that's when I was like, but it didn't really affect me either because like I really can't control this. This is greater than me, and people are saying Umi is this, Umi thinks this, Umi is doing this right now, and I'm like, I'm just sitting in my car. Like y'all are like, Umi did this and did that, and then she posted this, and then she made this caption on. I'm like, that's crazy. But I think that's one of the things. I'm trying to think anything else. Outside of that, like I don't really read my comments that much. When I post something, I don't really read the comments. I don't really look at the things that I make. So I'm sure there's been other negative perceptions, but I'm kind of I don't read it. I don't read it. I don't know if I ever will. It's not healthy for me, so I don't. So I don't know. There's probably more.
No, that's smart. That's very smart. I'm gonna put a pin on that because you mentioned collaborating with like artists in Korea, and that leads into another question I have for you. But I really want to ask you this first, just because um, living with that type of observation, because you're very like aware and conscious of like I'm someone's favorite singer. People have gotten married to my music. Oh my god, people have obsessed over me, and you're so aware of like being perceived and being perceived honestly, and just like someone like me, like I felt like if I understood that I was being watched by millions of eyes and heard by millions of ears, that would drive me a little loco. So I really want to know if that type of like how has living with that type of observation that's only gotten larger affected your songwriting, if it's affected your songwriting?
Mm, that's a fun question. No, it hasn't. It hasn't. It has in a way that like it's more easy for me to get in my head and to be like, this is what people want to hear, or like, what if, like, I went through this whole chapter before I dropped this album, and if you go on my Finsta, you'll see where I was like, I'm gonna quit music. I'm not dropping my album. I hate making music. I hate the music industry. I can't do this anymore. And a lot of it was just because like so much pressure, and a lot of it I know I'm putting the pressure on myself, but I think the pressure only grows as you grow bigger because it almost feels like there's more at stake if you don't meet certain expectations versus when you start, it's like there's literally no expectation. The song could tank and it doesn't even matter. It's like I still at least released it, you know? So, yes, because I definitely had a period of feeling very critical of my art and very unhappy with myself because of it. But now that I'm on the other side of it, I've thickened my skin and like my capacity to handle it. So now it doesn't, now I really am just like, I just try to make what's true to me and what's real to me. But I feel more easily succumb to pressure than I have ever in my career, I will say.
Okay, that's honest. I appreciate that. Thank you
Yeah,
for sharing.
of course.
Um, yeah, these past few years, you've had a handful of some really exciting collaborations, like with Ravina, via BTS, and with Gen Hoshino.
Yes.
So I gotta ask, you have such an arsenal of cool and vibrant, like just different creators, but somehow you only had one sole feature on the album, and that honor went to Black. So I want to ask, how did that come into fruition?
That one was so organic. Like me and Black met at like a jam session, and he was like rapping, freestyling, and I walked in and I was like, "Oh my god, it's Black." And then we just talked afterwards, and we were like, "Let's stay in touch. Maybe we'll make music one day," but it really wasn't any pressure. And then like between then and like a year, we just, if he had a show in LA, I would pop out. If I had a show in Atlanta, he'd come and support me. And so we just kind of became like artist friends and supporters of each other. And so we just like, it was like homies. We both make art, we both support each other. And then like while I was on tour last year with Janae, I was like starting to do feature stuff. And so I was like, oh my god, I feel like Black would be awesome to have on the album. So I just sent him a message, and he's like, oh, I'm super down. And then he sent me a verse, and then we went back and forth and did like ideas with each other. And then the song, I didn't even think the song was going to be on the album actually. But when we were picking the track list, I really loved that song. I couldn't stop listening to it. So I was like, I think it's meant to be on the album. But it was
Let me.
so low pressure.
I like that. Actually, I like that. Very, very genuine.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to my next one. I gotta come back to this just because going back to the album as a whole, there's a lot of different ideas that I felt like you brought that were really playful. Like we mentioned, grocery store, how you were playing around with like the time and the melodies with it to represent the idea you're going for. And there's a lot of ambitious production throughout the entire album. So I want to ask, what kind of experimentation led to that? What did you like? How were you going about the production aspect of things?
Two things. One was when I started the album, I really wanted the album to actually be like folk inspired, because the concept of like storytelling is folk tale, telling the story of the folk. So I was like, what if we mixed folk with like any genre of music? So first it came from that, which is how songs like Pink Camo, The Universe, um, It's Been a While, Somewhere New, sometimes like those kind of guitar leaning songs all came from then. um but then I got to a point where I was like, okay, now I want to just keep experimenting just to see, like, maybe this will be the next album, next album, maybe this will be this album. And I started just telling Viron, who executive produced the album, I'd be like, make something that you think you're not supposed to make. Like, put all the, like, It's Been a While, when we did that song, I was like, everything you think you're not supposed to do it. I want you to just make me the craziest production. And then other times I was like, I'm really feeling like I want to make like an old school like R&B hit. So then that's where we did like Hard Truths or like Right Wrong. So it started as folk, but then like over time it evolved into like a nostalgic feeling, which I think folk already gave me. So um, that's kind of how the production came. But I'm also, my goal too with the album was like, I wanted people to hear sounds that they've never heard before. There's always something that you can feel connected to and nostalgic to, but like break the rules, break your normative ear, not break, but like expand your normative ear was my goal, so that people can try new genres. Like, I want people to listen to my album and be like, I want to make a song like Rain Rain. That song's literally banjo and like an 808. Like, no one's done that before. Over like a rappy, trappy, like melody, you know? So I think I just was like, any rule, I want to break it and I want to see what that sounds like.
Thank you for confirming that's a banjo that I heard because one of them, the banjo is so strong, and I was like, "What is that?" And then there's another song where the way that you were like, "Oh, it's very folk inspired." I'm like, "Okay, I thought I heard like a lute. I'm hearing very like airy, like like string instruments." So that's really cool. I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember because I was listening to your previous album before that, and that one felt very like in tune to like one specific route of production styles. This one you can really hear like you playing around with like all the different ones, so, or different styles of it. So I really appreciate that creativity in the production. And then, oh,
I think too, like, I grew up listening to so many genres of music. Like, I love pop, I love folk, I love alt music, I love R&B, and like I also wanted to break the mold of like what a black girl can make. And like Viron is like the most amazing female producer, just producer in general, but she's also a woman and she's also a person of color. She's Puerto Rican, and I just feel like a lot of times people of color, we get put into boxes of like what you're supposed to listen to, so then what you're supposed to make. And so I'm like, nah, anything you thought I listened to, I probably didn't listen to that. I listened to something else. And so that's, this album's like for all the misfits and all the people who like just don't fit into boxes.
I like that. That's gonna be a quote that's like highlighted. Thank you.
Hey.
I got a few more questions for you, then I think we can move on. I have a very wholesome question for you. Just because I was listening to Mango Sticky Rice, and you specifically said there's a line that says "Wong Kar Wai movie tonight." So I don't know if that came from a story that one of your fans gave you, or if you're just a legitimate fan of that director.
I know, I'm a legitimate fan of that director. They told me that they like watching movies together, and so then I like the fan in Amsterdam. So I was like, well, I like watching Wong Kar Wai with my partner, so we're gonna say Wong Kar Wai here.
Cool. I gotta ask you, did you have a favorite movie of his, or did you have a recommendation for anyone who's trying to get into his movies?
Chunking Express, In the Mood for Love, like the classics, I think are great. And I think you should watch them knowing that it's going to be a patient a patient burn, but you're gonna visually be so inspired.
Appreciate that. I think it's In the Mood for Love. I see all the Snoopy edits of where it's like Snoopy in the back on the little motorcycle thing. So I'm always like, I gotta watch that one because that one reminds me of Snoopy. So thank you for also giving me just a fun conversation. I love the energy on your side.
Of course, you two, you come with good questions.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. So for you, my friend, my final question is actually inspired by the Finsta post you referenced earlier about quitting music and just struggling to create in such a toxic, hyper capitalistic industry. So I think my closing question for you is just what keeps you coming back to finish the idea? How do you find the
Hmm.
strength and hope if there are any?
I find the strength and the hope by letting myself give up sometimes. Like letting myself go all the way into my feeling instead of like suppressing it and being like, I shouldn't feel this way or I'm not allowed to feel this way. When I just let myself be like, this sucks and I can't do this anymore. And like today, I just have to crash out. And I'll let myself crash out for a little bit. And when I'm done crashing out, it's like a weight comes off my chest. I feel light again and I feel re-inspired. And a lot of this album happened because I like for the first time like really let myself feel the depth of my sadness and my frustration, and through that like birthed a lot of creativity.
I think that was so beautifully said.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Before we go, were there any other closing questions, comments, concerns, anything, bits of like fun facts or lore you want to drop for the fans?
I mean, first I would say keep your eyes, ears out for my tour. I'm going to be announcing my tour very soon. And also keep your eyes and ears open for more fan events. They're called U plus me events. My U plus me events, I have a lot planned for the future. So you'll get to meet me in person in a lot of non-typical places.
Wendy's.
And say that again.
It's gonna be like a Wendy's or maybe a Cane's.
Yeah, yeah, Wendy's, a Cane's, a hike, a beach, a club, a tattoo shop. And also, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for listening to my music and stream it up. And make sure you know the lyrics before you come to the tour.
Word. I know
Word.
that is if they made going to concerts with while not knowing the lyrics, I would have been arrested years ago. But still,
But
we're
still, I
here for
go.
it. Well, Umi, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of
Catch People
course.
Stories out soon.
Thank you, everybody.